UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome, listeners, to the first episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast on the United Federation of Podcasts. I'm your host, Patrick Devlin, and join with me, as always, is the amazing Amy Nelson. Amy, how are you?
Well, hello. I think I'm doing a little bit better than you, sounding to the grogginess in your voice there.
Oh, I'm feeling awful.
Oh.
But I was woken up at 6 o'clock by a sick child, to a sick wife, to a sick me. The only one not sick in this house is my son, Michael.
So he's holding down the fort.
Yes. So we're all doomed.
Oh, dear.
Well, you can contact the network at contact@ufp.earth, on Twitter, and on Facebook at UFP Earth. So, Amy, what is our topic for today?
Well, today, Pat, we are going to be talking about the latest short trek that would be called Ephraim and Dot.
What was your initial thought on this?
Okay, so the first time I watched it, I did not enjoy it. And I listened to a couple other podcasts to try and get a frame of reference. And most people that I saw on social media really enjoyed this episode. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I missing? So I watched it again just recently before recording. I'm still not in love with it like I see others, but I'm just going to agree to appreciate its Star Trek attempt at doing something different. And for me, I'm okay with that. So, Patrick, what did you think of it? And just give it to me. Be honest.
Okay, so on first viewing, I thought, what am I watching? What is this nonsense? And then on second viewing, I thought, what is this nonsense? And on third viewing, you know what I thought? What is this nonsense? It never got any better for me.
Oh, dear.
I don't care what other people are saying or think or have a frame of reference. I don't. All I care about is that none of it was at all good to me. I mentioned this to you off air. This was CBS and Star Trek's attempt at making a Disney short that failed horribly wrong. And if you go and watch the Disney short for Wall-E, which is called, I don't remember, we covered it on Mickey's Marvels. It's exactly that short in the beginning, except that one's funny and good, and this one is not.
Well, one thing that sort of changed my opinion was I heard someone compare it. I didn't hear it compared to any Disney, but I heard it compared to Tom and Jerry. And to me, that made sense because there was no dialogue, just like in Tom and Jerry, there's no dialogue. It's the crazy, running in place before you actually start to move. The antics of Tom and Jerry, to me, really described it well. And I was like, okay, I remember liking Tom and Jerry before the new, and they changed things. But, back in the 70s, 80s, when Tom and Jerry was good, in my opinion, and I liked it, I was like, okay, if I like Tom and Jerry, then I'm going to be okay with Ephraim and Dot. So that to me is what sort of now, that's where I'm at. I'm like, if I think of it as just a Tom and Jerry episode, then I'm okay with it.
No, I'm not okay with that as an explanation for being okay with it. I know it's your reasoning and you're allowed to have your reasoning. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So don't jump down my throat. However, if you have to do that much mental friggin' angst and jumping and backflipping just to like an episode, you don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just not good. And so the short is called Burn E. And if you watch the beginning of Burn E and you watch the beginning of this, you'll see that there's very close similarities to them. And, but whatever, that one was good, made more sense. And this one is not, and I don't like it. And if this is the kind of comedy we're going to get in the animated series, I don't want to watch the animated series.
Right. So just a question. You mentioned Bernie. Is that, you said that's a short?
It's a short based on the movie Wall-E.
Okay. Is that on Disney Plus?
It might be.
Okay.
If not, it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm interested to watch that and see the reference that you're making there. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I shouldn't have to go through this much mental stratagem and, trying to tell myself to like it.
Well, To be honest, I saw a lot of people complain about the A being on the ship, and then other people arguing where it really doesn't matter to them.
Okay.
Now, I don't care which side of the argument you're on this. However, this goes back to my point that I've made on other podcasts, where if you have to keep telling me you care about continuity and making these kind of mistakes, you really don't care about continuity. Stop telling me, start showing me. That wouldn't have made or broke this episode for me, this little short. But it's just more proof that they just don't really care about the fine details, which is what made Star Trek, for me, so great.
Mm-hmm. So in this episode, I heard a lot of people saying that this was a love letter to TOS, and because of all the references in there. Now, myself, not knowing the original series inside and out like others, I was able to recognize, obviously, Khan and Sulu with his sword fight, and I remember the green hand just because it's like a meme and like you're supposed to know it, but I don't know which episode it comes from. So I'm wondering if some of those things, because I'm not that familiar, sort of went over my head and I didn't have that nostalgia that maybe I think some people may put and like Ephraim and Dot because of the nostalgia that it brought.
Well, then shame on the people who wrote it, because that's fan service done too much.
Too much, you say?
If you need to know the references to understand what you're watching now, they've gone too far.
Oh, no, I didn't. I'm just saying, like, I couldn't say which episode, but I knew the green hand because,
No, I understand that. But I'm saying is if people like this episode because of that, that's great for them. Mm-hmm. However, that's bad on the writers of the episode. Because now you've just knocked out a whole large section of your audience from liking this. Because there are a lot of people who never watch TOS that do watch Discovery. There is a large group of people who watch from TNG on, or from Voyager on, or from Enterprise on, or just started watching from Discovery. They're not going to get any of those references. I mean, they'll get Kirk. Everyone knows Kirk, right? They'll understand that that's the Enterprise. They'll get that. So those, if you don't get that, then shame on you. I mean, but the other ones, the Green Hand, the Tholian Web part, right? All that stuff. If you need to understand that, like you were saying, you kind of have to. It seems like a lot of people like this because of the nostalgia factor, which is great, but you threw it all in one episode. And if you don't get it or care about it, then you don't really appreciate the episode. Then you've done too much trying to appease that one subset of fan group. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I don't.
A good episode.
I don't think that you recognizing that those came from. I mean, because it wasn't part of the plot. It was just him traveling, at warp speed and seeing all that. Okay, well, you understand that you didn't need to know those things. You would just see a green hand coming out of space. Like, it's not adding anything to the story, I think, but you're right. It is a lot of nostalgia. One thing that I did like, because I watched the Kelvin timeline movies, and it was so cute when the tardigrade was in the pipes and was going along, and that reminded me of 09 when they brought Scotty onto the Enterprise. I thought that was cute.
Okay. I mean, it was cool that the eggs were rainbow.
I guess.
I had to say something nice to
okay, good.
Somewhere. I mean, okay. So trying to pick something out of here to talk about. I was thinking, so this little robot, this little red and white or red and silver or whatever colors that stupid thing was, the orange eyes, it was determined to do its job of getting this tardigrade off the ship at all costs.
Yes.
But it never stopped to think why the tardigrade was fighting so hard to be on the ship.
But is a robot supposed to think?
Well, no, it's not. That's kind of my point.
Right.
However, we've also noticed that robots are not typical robots in Star Trek. So should it have been trying to, because it obviously at the end has some kind of conscience. Otherwise it wouldn't have saved the eggs in the first place. So it's not a typical robot.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about robot. I'm assuming,
because I think that's the moral of this story, if we're going to pick something out here.
Okay. So I'm assuming Dot is the robot.
I would hope so.
Okay. First of all, where did this idea of robots come in? Was that from Discovery and Jet Reno?
Oh, I don't know.
When I saw this robot, that like threw me, and that was one of the
No,
reasons
but we
why I
really
didn't
care
like
about
it.
continuity.
Well, I didn't understand why we're getting a robot.
Because it had to be there.
Okay.
Look, it makes no sense it's in there. It doesn't make sense because it wasn't on the Enterprise and TOS, right? We would have heard something about this robot that fixes the ship for them.
Well, we never saw it on TNG.
We don't get it in DNG either. We don't get it we never get it anywhere, by the way. There are no
Discovery-ish.
Because we don't have
Jet
a single
Reno
robot who fixes ships.
Jet Reno brings them in, and then we also see section or control use them with his drones. That would be the closest, and I'm stretching that.
Okay. But right, and we don't get this kind of robot anywhere in Star Trek, though.
Exactly.
We do get it in Wall-E and Bernie, but that's besides the point.
But
whatever. I'm actually ignoring that because again, they're going to tell us later they really care about continuity, and ignoring the fact that this robot's never existed or should exist, and just going to the fact of if there was such a placeholder, right, a being of some kind that does this job, should it not even try and question why this tardigrade wants so badly to be on board, or should it just try to eradicate the tardigrade? Because that's all it was. It kept airlocking it, which I guess was for comedic use, but like it wasn't funny any of the 3 times. So I really don't know why it continued to happen.
Because if that was its goal, get it off the ship, then that's the way that it was getting it off the ship. I thought that was clear. It was cute.
Okay. It had to not kill it. Because if it killed it, the short ends.
Yeah.
But
right. Yeah, so that brings up a really good point, Patrick, and I'm glad that we're talking about it because yes, it's this robot. It obviously is programmed. It's not meant to have a conscience that we can see at the beginning. And then why would it at the end develop a conscience? Right.
So my point is, as a typical worker in society now, should we just mindlessly go about our day doing our job? Or should we have tried to figure out why the tardigrade was trying to be here in the first place?
Well, obviously, the answer is we should think about our purpose.
Okay, but our boss would tell you flat out, get them off the site, right?
Right.
So which do you do? Which is the right answer? Do you keep your job or do you do the right thing?
You do the right thing.
Okay,
that would be the Utopia next gen.
No, I understand that, but we're not talking about next. I'm talking about right here, right now. You work in a school. You can't just have random people in schools.
Right.
I mean, that's, especially in today's day and age, it just can't happen.
Yeah.
So if you saw someone come in because they were trying to give their kid lunch, you'd still have to do whatever it was to get them off the property. Not sit, and especially if you thought maybe that person had a weapon, you can't sit and reason with them first. Especially if they start acting lunatic-y and trying to get past you.
Yeah, if they're acting lunatic-y. But yeah, we listen and, talk to everyone who comes on campus.
I can't even get in the front door of my school.
Really?
No, it's bulletproof glass and a bulletproof window I have to talk through.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay, that's different here in my neck of the woods.
I have to give my driver's license through. It's really dumb because the glass right next to it's not bulletproof.
Oh.
So if someone really wanted to do something, there's that. I mean,
if someone really wanted to do anything, there's not.
No, there isn't. Yeah. But still, they put up a 2 foot by 6 inch piece of glass, and then right next to it is just the old door.
Yeah.
But I can't. Like I said, I can't even get in the door of my kid's school without going through 2 or 3 checks.
Yeah. So the robot was, obviously trying to do its job. And I guess part of that whole sequence, that's what I didn't like. I don't like that kind of humor that is mean like that. And so that was sort of off-putting to me when I watched this. I don't like that, he was, pushing him out of airlock and making him get sucked into this little tiny pipe thing. And it was very cartoonish, like elementary cartoonish. And again, I make the comparison to Tom and Jerry. the
Yeah, I mean-
slapstick,